one of the values of prayer. In fact, the number one value of prayer is intimacy with God. Now, Mary was at the feet of Jesus. She was worshiping. She was listening to his word. Martha was very busy working. I want you to notice a couple of things about this passage that maybe you and I have missed before. Number one is that Mary was working. Look in verse 40. It says, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me?" And so Mary was working with Martha, but she shut down kind of early and went and sat at the feet of Jesus and began to worship and listening to his word. Then I want you to notice that Martha was praying. So where do you get that? Well, look right here. It says, "Tell her to help me." Now, he said no to that prayer, by the way. But he said, she was praying, "Lord, don't you care that I'm just in this all by myself? I'm just working my fingers to the bone. And here Mary has quit, and somebody's got to do this job and do this task. And tell her to help me, Lord." Now, if you'd have answered that prayer, well, Mary, get up. Don't be so lazy and get over there and help your sister. No, he said no because that was not the best thing. I want you to notice is these two ladies had a different perspective on who Jesus was and what he was about. The Bible says that Martha was serving Jesus. Jesus said, I didn't come here to be served. I came to serve and give my life as a ransom for many. Mary was working, knocked off early, and she began to pray. Now, we notice here that Mary was working, Martha was praying, just like both of them were doing both things, but both had different priorities in life. Martha wanted to get the task accomplished. Mary's number one priority was face time with Jesus. Martha was active, but there was no relationship involved. Now, folks, we know people, I've known people all my life that would take 10 jobs in the church rather than come to worship or go to a small group. They just don't want the intimacy. They don't want the closeness. They don't want that kind of relationship. In my last church, we had a guy that volunteered for everything on Sunday morning. He stayed out of small groups. He stayed out of worship. And you know how the leaders were. Yeah, we need somebody so bad in this area. Yeah, come on and help us out. Come on and help us out. He very seldom ever attended. He wanted to do the task, but he did not want the intimacy we find with God. Now, to some degree, there are really two different types of Marthas in the church. The first type of Martha is the one that does not have a relationship with God at all. Maybe they grew up in church and they were surrounded. They're affected by their environment. All right, they're in a worship environment. They're in a church environment. They grew up in youth group and then maybe in a college group, and there's Christians all around them. But once they get out on their own, there's no intimacy there. There's no relationship there. They look like they're good. They look like Marys, but they're really Marthas. And when their environment changes, they change with their environment. But there's a second type of Marthas, and maybe you're one of them this morning, and that is your prayer life used to be really good, but now, for lack of a better term, it kind of stinks right now. And you're more concerned about doing work than you are intimacy. Well, men are like that oftentimes. We want to make such a good living for our family. We go everywhere, we travel everywhere, we work our fingers to the bone, you might say, 12, 16 hours a day, and neglect the intimacy with our family when that is the most important thing. Intimacy with God.